There comes a moment in every major conflict where the talking stops, the warnings end, and the real power moves begin. For years, the royal family has watched the Montecito saga from a distance, maintaining a dignified silence while brand deals were signed and interviews were aired. But that silence has officially broken. We aren't looking at a family feud anymore. We are looking at an institutional intervention. Princess Anne, a woman known for never making idle threats, has drawn a line in the sand that has sent shockwaves from London to Los Angeles. The monarchy has woken up. And this time the target isn't Meghan Markle's title or her podcast or her brand. The target is the safety and future of two children, Archie and Lilibet. If you thought the previous drama was intense, you need to brace yourself. Because what has unfolded over the last 3 weeks involves emergency palace meetings, government child welfare officials, and a dossier of evidence so damning it has forced King Charles to do the one thing he vowed never to do: intervene directly in the lives of his American grandchildren. To understand the gravity of this situation, we have to go back to the morning of January 23rd, 2026. While the world was scrolling through social media, something unprecedented was happening behind the gilded gates of Buckingham Palace. This wasn't a ceremonial gathering. It wasn't a tea party. It was a crisis session chaired by Princess Anne herself, attended by King Charles, Prince William, and Duchess Sophie. But it was the other people in the room that should stop you in your tracks. Sitting across from the future king were external representatives from the UK's Department for Children and Families. Just let that sink in for a second. When you have government child welfare officials walking into Buckingham Palace to discuss a family matter, you have crossed a terrifying threshold. You are no longer in the territory of a domestic disagreement. You are in the territory of state-level concern. For over 3 hours, this group reviewed what insiders are calling the Lilibet Logs. These aren't tabloid rumors. These are internal legal reports submitted by Prince Harry's own UK counsel. And the conclusion reached in that room was unanimous and terrifying. The palace believes that the children are not just being raised, they are being commodified. The resulting statement from Clarence House didn't mince words, condemning any attempt to divide siblings for financial or image purposes. But that was just the diplomatic version. The reality of what they found in those logs is far, far worse. We need to talk about the numbers. The Lilibet Logs are essentially a detailed audit of a 6-year-old child's life. Most 6-year-olds spend their time learning to read, losing their baby teeth, and playing in the dirt. But according to the documentation reviewed by Princess Anne's advisory team, Lilibet's reality is radically different. Between October 1st and December 31st, 2025, this child, who again is only 6, logged over 192 recorded work hours. Breaking that down, that is the equivalent of 6 full weeks of adult full-time employment crammed into a single quarter. And this wasn't just cute appearances. The schedule included voice training for audiobook narration, scripted product shoots for wellness campaigns, and virtual meet and greets on private platforms. Imagine the pressure of a live stream or a scripted shoot. Now imagine putting that weight on the shoulders of a first grader. Witnesses and former staff members described scenes that are difficult to even visualize. One account details Lilibet crying quietly for 15 minutes after forgetting a line, only to be told by a personal assistant to learn resilience. Another report claims that when filming was delayed, she was told, "If you want to build something in this world, you have to show up every time." These are the kinds of things you say to a CEO, not a child who should be watching cartoons. It is a fundamental misunderstanding of childhood development. Prince William reportedly saw these logs and lost his usual cool, stating that his niece is more exhausted than most working women in their 30s. And that is the core of the palace's argument. This isn't parenting. This is a business operation, and the primary asset is a little girl who didn't sign up for the job. But numbers on a page as shocking as they are don't hit as hard as the words of the child herself. This is the part of the story that reportedly silenced the room at Windsor. In late December, a third-party child psychologist retained by Harry's legal team held confidential sessions with Lilibet. What she said wasn't coached. It wasn't scripted. It was the raw, honest plea of a child pushed too far. Lilibet told the psychologist, "I want to go where I don't have to smile every time. I want to be with Archie." That statement is devastating in its simplicity. She didn't ask for a new toy. She didn't ask for Disney World. She asked for permission to stop performing. She equated her life with the obligation to smile every time, implying that her affection and her demeanor are being regulated for a camera lens. It's a rejection of performance as an identity. When Duchess Sophie heard this, she reportedly broke down, realizing that this little girl views her own happiness as a job requirement rather than a natural emotion. While Lilibet is being pushed into the spotlight, her brother Archie has become a ghost. And this creates a disturbing contrast that the royal family can no longer ignore. We have one child being overexposed to the point of exhaustion, and another child who has virtually vanished from the face of the earth. Archie Harrison is 7 years old. For over 14 months, he has not appeared in any significant family imagery or media. Now, privacy is one thing and arguably a good thing, but the reports coming out of the household suggest this isn't just about privacy, it's about withdrawal. Prince Harry's own confidential notes describe his son as exhibiting severe anxiety when cameras or filming equipment are brought into the house. The boy has developed an aversion to being photographed. Think about the psychological impact of that. He is the son of a prince living in a house that operates like a production studio, and he is terrified of the tools of the trade. Duchess Sophie called his absence a silence that screams. The fear inside the palace is that Archie is being emotionally orphaned, left to drift in the background, while the brand focuses its energy on the more marketable sibling. It's a dynamic that creates deep-seated trauma, the kind that takes decades to unravel. The palace is asking a question the world has forgotten to ask. Who is looking out for Archie while the cameras are pointed at Lilibet? For years, the narrative has been that Harry is entirely under Meghan's thumb, a passive participant in his own exile. But the events of January 2026 suggest that something has snapped. In a move that blindsided everyone, including Meghan's legal team, Prince Harry walked into a Los Angeles Superior Court on January 2nd and filed a formal custody request. This wasn't a leak. This wasn't a rumor. This was a time-stamped legal filing. Harry is seeking full legal and physical custody of both children, and the language used in the filing is incredibly telling. He argues that the emotional bifurcation of the siblings, splitting them up or treating them differently, is institutionalized trauma. He did this without Meghan's prior consent. It's a declaration of independence we haven't seen from him in years. Meghan's team scrambled to file a counter-motion proposing a split custody arrangement where Archie would spend time in the UK while Lilibet remained in California. Why? Because according to their filing, Lilibet has educational, therapeutic, and career systems in place in the US. Read that again. Career systems. For a 6-year-old, when Princess Anne saw that phrase in a legal document, it was the final nail in the coffin. You do not talk about a first grader having a career infrastructure unless you are admitting that the child is working. It validated every fear the royal family had. It wasn't just a slip of the tongue. It was a legal admission that Lilibet is part of a business model. This career defense becomes even more alarming when you look at what happened with Lilibet's schooling. Up until recently, she was enrolled at Brentwood Academy in Los Angeles. But in early December, Meghan pulled her out. The official reason given was a disagreement about curriculum and media restrictions. But the internal absence reports tell a much darker story. Brentwood Academy had already flagged severe absenteeism. They noted that Lilibet was missing critical social development milestones. The school actually issued a formal concern notice recommending a developmental assessment. Instead of addressing these concerns, the response was to remove her from the environment entirely. By shifting to homeschooling, the checks and balances of a mandated reporter system are removed. A teacher sees a tired child and asks questions. A private tutor on the payroll does not. The palace views this isolation as a tactical move to remove oversight. When you combine the school withdrawal with the career systems argument in court, it paints a picture of a child being walled off from the real world to service a brand. It is the classic stage parent trap amplified by royal titles and millions of dollars. Enter the Royal Child Preservation Council. This is not a fuzzy PR committee. This is an operational body with teeth led by Princess Anne. Established on February 1st, this council has a specific charter to preserve the private development of royal descendants abroad. They are looking at options that would have been unthinkable a year ago. We are talking about potential involvement from the UK Foreign Office. We are talking about requesting health and psychological reports through diplomatic channels. The monarchy is arguing that because these children are in the line of succession, the crown has a duty of protection that transcends national borders. They are also looking at the money. Palace sources have confirmed they are investigating over 10 contracts involving Lilibet contracts for skincare, fashion, and toys. If they find that royal titles are being used to merchandise these children in violation of international labor standards or royal ethics, they have the power to act. They could issue a formal revocation of the commercial use of royal symbols. Imagine the blow to the As Ever brand if the palace publicly declares that using Lilibet's title on a candle or a yoga mat is unauthorized and illegitimate. It would be a branding apocalypse. Just when you think the commercialization aspect couldn't get more brazen, word has leaked of a new trademark application. Meghan's team is reportedly pushing to register the phrase, "raised by purpose," under Lilibet's name. Raised by purpose? It sounds inspirational until you remember it's a commercial tag for a child who just wants to play with her brother. It reframes a human life as a mission statement. It implies that her existence has a specific utility. The palace is reportedly preparing to block this trademark under media ethics oversight laws, arguing that you cannot trademark the upbringing of a royal child. This specific move seems to have angered King Charles more than anything else. It suggests that despite the warnings, despite the court filings, the machine is still churning. It signals that Meghan views the children as extensions of her own narrative, her second chance to get things right, rather than autonomous little people with their own needs. But amidst all this legal maneuvering and cold institutional threats, there is one person trying to solve this human to human. Princess Catherine Kate has quietly positioned herself as the bridge. While Anne is bringing the hammer, Kate is bringing the olive branch. She has proposed the Windsor Reset, a private secret summit at Windsor Castle. No lawyers, no cameras, no staff, just Harry, Meghan, William, Kate, and Anne sitting in a room to talk about the kids. It's a genius strategic move. By removing the audience, she removes the performance. Kate even sent a handwritten letter to Meghan. We don't know the full contents, but sources say it was disarmingly honest. She wrote, "Whatever divides us, I believe we both want them to feel loved before they feel watched." That line cuts through all the noise. Loved before they feel watched. It is a plea from one mother to another to prioritize the children's emotional safety over their public visibility. It challenges Meghan to prove that she can separate her ambition from her parenting. If Meghan refuses this invitation, she isn't just saying no to a meeting. She is confirming that she cannot exist without the cameras. It puts the ball squarely in her court. The palace isn't naive. They know Meghan might not show up. That's why they have Operation Veil ready to go. This is a dual contingency plan. Path A is the summit succeeds. Tensions de-escalate, a parenting agreement is reached, and the children get their privacy back. But Path B is the one everyone is afraid of. If Meghan refuses, or if she tries to spin this into another victim narrative on Netflix, the palace is ready to go scorched earth. This would involve a full public endorsement of Harry's custody petition. It would involve clarifying that Lilibet's commercial activities are unauthorized. It might even involve a joint interview with Anne and Catherine explaining exactly why they had to intervene. They are willing to risk the PR blowback to save the kids. One senior advisor put it bluntly, if Lilibet becomes a cautionary tale, the monarchy's moral legitimacy goes with it. They cannot afford to let history repeat itself. They watched Diana crumble under the pressure. They are not going to watch her granddaughter suffer the same fate just to sell lifestyle products. So here we are. The invitations have been delivered. The lawyers are armed. The king is watching. And 2 children, a boy who hides from cameras, and a girl who is tired of smiling, are waiting to see who wins. This is the most critical moment for the royal family in decades. It is no longer about protocol or tradition. It is about the most primal instinct of all, protecting the young. Princess Anne has made it clear that Lilibet's future is not a commercial asset. It is not a stock ticker. It is a life. The crown has locked its position. They are not blinking. They have the logs, they have the witness statements, and they have the moral high ground. The question is, does Meghan Markle realize that the game has changed? Does she understand that this time she isn't fighting a stuffy institution? She is fighting a family that is terrified for her children. But here is the twist that Meghan's team likely didn't calculate. The pressure isn't just coming from London, it is starting to boil over in Los Angeles too. For years, the narrative was that the Sussexes were the darlings of Hollywood, escaping the stuffy traditions of the British aristocracy. But according to new reports circulating among top talent agencies, the Lilibet Logs have changed the temperature in California. Industry insiders are whispering that the As Ever brand is becoming radioactive. Why? Because Hollywood, for all its flaws, has strict laws about child labor. The Coogan Act exists for a reason. When rumors started flying that a 6-year-old was logging nearly 200 hours of brand activity in a single quarter, agents and publicists reportedly began distancing themselves. We are hearing about a soft blacklist. Major production companies and ethical wellness brands are hesitant to partner with Meghan because they don't want to be adjacent to a child labor investigation. One prominent Hollywood publicist, speaking anonymously, said, "Nobody wants to be the brand that sponsored a child's burnout. It's a PR nightmare waiting to happen." This means Meghan is fighting a war on two fronts. The royal family is closing the gates in London, and the power players in Hollywood are quietly closing their checkbooks in Montecito. This brings us to the most tragic comparison of all, the cousins paradox. While Lilibet is reportedly being prepped for career systems and voice training, look at her cousins across the ocean. Prince George, Princess Charlotte, and Prince Louis are undoubtedly famous, but their lives are ferociously guarded. We see them at controlled official events, and then they disappear into the privacy of Windsor to ride bikes, scrape their knees, and just be kids. The contrast is jarring. The children who were supposed to be trapped by the monarchy are actually living with more freedom than the children who were saved from it. Archie and Lilibet are living in what one royal expert called a Truman Show existence, isolated in a Montecito fortress where the only interaction involves cameras, scripts, and Mommy and Me product placement. King Charles is reportedly haunted by this specific detail. He knows what it's like to be a prop in a royal pageant. He spent his entire life fighting for his own identity. To see his grandchildren potentially being turned into content before they can even write their own names is said to be the one thing he cannot forgive. It is why the Windsor Reset isn't just a meeting. It is a rescue mission. The king isn't trying to control them. He's trying to ensure they have the one luxury he never had, a childhood that belongs only to them. We have to ask you, what do you think Meghan will do? Will she walk into Windsor Castle and sit at that table? Or will she double down and escalate the war? Does she see Lilibet as a daughter or as a brand extension? This story is moving fast. The summit dates are approaching and the silence from Montecito is deafening. But one thing is certain. The royal family is done watching from the sidelines. They have entered the arena. Make sure you are subscribed and have your notifications on, because the next chapter of this story is going to break within days, and you do not want to miss the update. The crown is awake, and they are coming for the truth. Let us know your thoughts in the comments below. Do the royals have the right to intervene? We'll see you in the next video.